Stop guessing. Stop wondering if you are good enough or if you still sound like a beginner. Today, we're going to find out the absolute truth about your English capabilities. You don't need a confusing exam, and you certainly don't need to pay for a tutor right now. You just need to listen. I am going to guide you through 6 distinct stages of fluency. We will start simple, very simple. But as we move forward, the language will transform. The vocabulary will become richer, the grammar more complex, and the ideas more abstract. If you can follow me all the way to the end, you have mastered this language. Are you ready to discover your true level? Let's begin. Introduction. Welcome. What we are doing today is a journey. We are going to climb the ladder of English proficiency together, starting from the very first step, the absolute beginner, and walking all the way up to the expert level. I will tell you 6 stories. Each story represents a specific level: A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, and C2. Your job is simple. Relax, clear your mind, and listen. If the first story is easy, great. If the second one is easy, keep going. The moment you feel lost, or the moment you lose the thread of the story, that is where your current level is. This is the ultimate way to test your English level without the pressure of a classroom. Let's start with our first level. This is level A1. This is for beginners. The English here is slow, clear, and uses very common words. Let me tell you about a woman named Sarah. Sarah is 25 years old. She lives in a big city, but she lives in a small house. She does not live alone. She lives with her parents and her brother. Sarah has a pet. It is a cat. The cat is white and soft. His name is Snow. Sarah loves her cat very much. Every morning, Sarah wakes up at 7 o'clock. She is hungry. She goes to the kitchen. She eats eggs and drinks coffee. She likes coffee with milk. After breakfast, Sarah goes to work. She works in a flower shop. The shop is near her house. She walks to work. It takes 5 minutes. Sarah likes flowers. She likes red roses and yellow tulips. Her job is good. The people are nice. At 1 o'clock, Sarah eats lunch. She eats a sandwich. She drinks water. In the afternoon, she cleans the shop. She sells flowers to people. At 6 o'clock, she goes home. In the evening, Sarah is tired. She sits on the sofa. She watches TV with her family. Snow, the cat, sleeps on her legs. Sarah is happy. Her life is simple and good. Okay. Transition. How was that? If you understood Sarah's story perfectly, congratulations! You have mastered the basics. You are at least an A1 level. But life isn't always that simple, is it? Let's move up a step. We are now entering level A2, the elementary level. Here we will start connecting sentences a bit more. We will talk about routines, preferences, and feelings in a slightly more detailed way. This is great English listening practice for those ready to move past the basics. Okay, cut. Now I want to introduce you to a man named Tom. Tom has a slightly busier life than Sarah. He lives in an apartment in the center of town. It isn't a big apartment, but it is perfect for him. It has a bedroom, a kitchen, and a living room with a nice view of the street. Tom works in an office. He is a secretary. He helps his boss answer emails and talk to customers on the phone. Tom's office is not near his home, so he cannot walk there. Every morning he takes the bus. The bus is usually crowded and noisy, but Tom doesn't mind. He listens to music on his headphones and looks out the window.
Tom starts work at 9 o'clock. He is very busy all day. He types on his computer and organizes papers. Sometimes his colleagues tell funny jokes during the lunch break. They go to a small cafe across the street. Tom usually orders chicken with rice, but on Fridays he eats pizza. He loves Fridays. After work, Tom likes to stay active. He goes to the gym 3 times a week. He runs on the treadmill and lifts heavy weights. It makes him feel strong and healthy. When he finishes at the gym, he walks home. In the evening, Tom cooks dinner. He isn't a chef, but he can make pasta. After dinner, he takes a shower and puts on comfortable clothes. He likes to read books about travel. He wants to visit Japan one day. Before he sleeps, he calls his mother to say goodnight. Tom works hard, but he enjoys his free time. That was level A2. Did you notice the difference? The sentences were a little longer, and we talked about frequency, what he does usually or 3 times a week. If you followed Tom's routine without a problem, you are doing excellent work. Now we are crossing a bridge. We are moving to level B1, the intermediate level. This is where things get interesting. We move away from just describing what happens and start talking about how and why things happen. We will look at a specific career and ambitions. Let's shift our focus to Mark. Mark is a technician who specializes in fixing computers. He has worked in this field for about 5 years. Mark works at a service center where people bring in their broken laptops and tablets. Mark enjoys his job because he sees it as a puzzle. When a customer brings in a computer that won't turn on, Mark has to figure out the secret. Is it the battery? Is it a virus? Is it a broken screen? He has to use his logic to find the solution. It is very satisfying for him when he fixes a difficult problem and the machine works again.
However, Mark doesn't want to work for someone else forever. He has a dream. He plans to save enough money to open his own repair shop. He wants to be his own boss. In the evenings, after he finishes his shift, Mark takes online courses about business management. He knows that fixing computers is one skill, but running a company is a completely different challenge. Mark's life isn't just about technology, though. He believes in having a balance. On weekends, he tries to get away from screens and digital devices. He loves nature. He usually drives to the mountains with his friends. They go hiking for hours. The fresh air helps Mark clear his head after a long week of sitting in a small room. When he comes home on Sunday evening, he feels refreshed and ready for the week ahead. He cooks a meal for the next few days and watches documentaries. Mark is a person who likes to plan for the future, but he also knows how to enjoy the present moment. If you understood Mark's motivations and his future plans, you are solidly in the intermediate range. You are now communicating, not just existing in the language. But now, we need to go deeper. We are entering level B2, the upper intermediate level. This is the level where English conversation practice usually aims to get you. Here, the speaker will express more complex emotions, doubts, and life changes. The grammar will include a variety of tenses to tell a richer story. Let's talk about Julia. Julia is a freelance graphic designer, but her life wasn't always this way. For 7 years, she worked in a massive corporate advertising agency in the city. On paper, her life looked perfect. She had a high salary, a modern office with a view of the skyline, and a clear career path. Her parents were proud of her, and her friends envied her stability. But internally, Julia felt like she was suffocating. The work was repetitive. Every day was a cycle of meetings that could have been emails and creative projects that were ruined by boring corporate rules. She felt like a machine, not an artist. She realized that she wasn't growing anymore. She was just aging.
2 years ago, she made a terrifying decision. She quit. She left the safety of her salary to start her own business from her living room. The first few months were incredibly difficult. There were weeks when the phone didn't ring, and she panicked about paying her rent. She questioned if she had made a huge mistake. She missed the social aspect of the office, the coffee breaks with coworkers, and the guarantee of a paycheck at the end of the month. However, she persisted. She learned that discipline is more important than motivation. She built a portfolio and started networking online. Slowly, clients started to trust her. She realized that the freedom she now had was worth the stress.
She could work at midnight if she felt creative, or take a Tuesday off to visit a museum if she felt blocked. Now Julia understands herself better. She has learned that security is an illusion, and that true stability comes from your own ability to adapt. She isn't rich, but she owns her time. And for her, that is the ultimate definition of success. She looks back at her old corporate life not with regret, but as a necessary lesson that pushed her toward her true path. Transition. That was a significant jump. We dealt with abstract concepts like suffocating, persisted, and illusion. If you could follow Julia's emotional journey and her reasoning for quitting her job, you are at a B2 level. You are independent in English. Now, we approach the advanced levels. Level C1. This is where fluency really shines. We're going to talk about leadership, psychology, and the nuances of human behavior in a professional setting. The language here is natural, fluid, and precise. I'd like to introduce you to Robert, a senior project manager at a software development firm. Robert has spent the last decade leading teams, and if you asked him what his job is truly about, he wouldn't say software. He would say psychology. Robert has come to realize that the technical aspect of a project is rarely the cause of failure. Code can be fixed, budgets can be adjusted. The real variables, the ones that keep him awake at night, are the human ones. It's about ego, miscommunication, burnout, and trust. He remembers a specific crisis from a few years ago. His team was working on a flagship app launch. The deadline was approaching, and the pressure was immense. The developers were exhausted, the designers were defensive, and the client was furious about a delay. The atmosphere in the office was toxic. Robert's instinct was to yell, to demand harder work, to force the result. But he caught himself. He realized that adding pressure to a cracking pipe only causes it to burst. Instead, he did something counterintuitive. He paused everything. He took the team out of the office for a mediocre lunch and forbade any talk of the project. He listened to them. He didn't offer solutions, he offered empathy. He validated their stress. By simply lowering the temperature in the room, the solution emerged naturally. A quiet developer who had been too intimidated to speak up earlier pointed out a shortcut they hadn't seen. The project was saved, not by force, but by facilitation. Robert learned that leadership isn't about being the smartest person in the room. It's about creating an environment where the smartest people feel safe enough to be wrong, safe enough to experiment, and safe enough to speak the truth. He understands now that his authority doesn't come from his job title, but from his ability to remain calm when everyone else is spiraling into chaos. That was C1. We dealt with idioms like keeping him awake at night and metaphors like cracking pipe. We explored the psychology of management. If you understood the nuances of Robert's leadership style, your English is excellent. Finally, we have arrived at the summit, level C2. The expert level. This is the level of mastery where language becomes a tool for deep philosophical reflection. The vocabulary is sophisticated, the rhythm is literary, and the focus is on the subtle nature of existence. Let us consider the perspective of Eleanor. Eleanor is a consultant, but she views her life's trajectory through the lens of subtraction rather than addition. In a society that relentlessly worships accumulation, more accolades, more possessions, more noise, Eleanor has dedicated the latter half of her career to the art of letting go. She creates spaces of silence in a world terrified of quiet. She has observed that modern individuals treat time as an enemy to be conquered, filling every ephemeral second with productivity, terrified that a moment of stillness might force them to confront their own reflections. Eleanor argues that we are not suffering from a lack of information, but from a deficit of contemplation. She spends her mornings in a state of deliberate slowness. She observes the way the light fractures through her window, and everyday physics that most overlook in their rush to be elsewhere. She reads, not to consume data, but to converse with minds across centuries. She writes, not for an audience, but to disentangle the complexity of her own consciousness. To Eleanor, true freedom is equanimity. It is the profound understanding that control is a fallacy. She realizes that the most significant moments of her life were not the ones she engineered with brute force, but the ones she allowed to unfold. She has learned to distinguish between the urgent and the important, knowing they are rarely the same thing. Her peace is derived not from an absence of chaos, but from a resilience that allows her to remain porous to experience without being consumed by it. She walks through the world with a sense of detached engagement, fully present, yet unburdened by the desperate need for validation. She has found that by requiring less from the world suddenly has so much more to offer her.
And there we have it. We have walked from the simple routine of Sarah and her cat all the way to Eleanor's philosophical musings on time and existence. Take a deep breath. How did you do? If you understood everything, including the final story, you are operating at a near native level. If you got lost somewhere in the middle, that is perfectly okay. That is your map. Now you know exactly where you are and where you need to go next. Language learning is not a race. It is a process of expanding your world one story at a time. I want to thank you for spending this time with me. If you found this video helpful, please do me a favor. Hit that like button and make sure you subscribe to English Glow. We have many more stories to tell, and I want you here for them. Let me know in the comments, which story was the first one that felt difficult for you? I'd love to know. Until next time, keep listening and keep glowing.